What's going on, guys? Dropadooski here. Today I want to go over a starter speed guide for the Barbarian for patch 2.6.1 for season 12. Now the intention of this today is to make a build that could do T13 pretty easily when we get done with our seasonal journey. So the seasonal journey for season 12 will be the IK set for the Barbarian. So we will be getting the 6-piece IK set at the start of the season once we finish our seasonal journey. And what I wanted to do with this, and the concept is to make something that is the easiest for us to farm up and start doing T13. Now there are going to be ways to modify this build to make it more efficient, more fast, but this is something that you can gear relatively easily, utilizing 6 pieces of the IK set, still move very, very quickly, and get into farming higher tiers of the rifts and getting more legendaries and more stones and so forth. So let's jump into the gear and I'll go through the concept as we go through. So instead of what you see typically, the two-handers like Little Rogue and Slender, which are kind of hard to get, they are a pain in the ass to get, we're going to just go ahead and use the Boulder Breaker, right? So we got 6 pieces of IK here, and by taking the Boulder Breaker we free up the belt slot, allowing us to take T13's Chain, and coupled with Warcry, that gives us another boost of movement speed as we're going through the T13 Rift. This is a Hoda build. I really like Hoda Barb, so I wanted to go with something around Hoda. So when we're looking at the cube, the things that you're going to have to farm outside of the set, there's very few things that you're going to have to roll here. You can roll 2-hand mighty weapons in the cube, the yellows, to get your Gavel of Judgment and throw it in the cube. So you're going to get that huge damage buff from Hammer of the Ancients when you're running through the rifts. You're going to be rolling bracers from Kadala because you really want these bracers of the First Men. Now, to be realistic, as we're going through, obviously in the beginning of the season, normally we're working our way up, right? So we're going T6, T8, T10, T12, making our way up to T13. So as long as we have this item, if we have not got these yet, we can make do and work our way up, but your eventual goal in the beginning is to get yourself a Bracer of the First Men so that your Hammer of the Ancients does even more damage. So with that, you continue to roll bracers and get yourself Nemesis bracers, as they are standard for all stone farming builds. And you want to be able to get more death breaths per hour as fast as possible. So you're going to want to get yourself Nemesis bracers. The next thing that you'll be looking for are rings. Now I use Focus and Restrain here because it gives me that damage buff, right? I want that 100% damage as I'm running through the rift, and everything with Barbarians for the most part this season are synergizing around the Band of Might, right? So once we've got our 2-hand Gavel of Judgment, we can immediately start rolling yellow rings in the cube and looking for rings because we want to get ourselves a Band of Might to put in the cube, because after casting Furious Charge, Ground Stop, Leap, you're going to get 80% damage reduction, which is huge, which makes all of these Barbarian builds that are now becoming viable again able to survive. So while we're rolling for Band of Might, we're also going to be coming across Focus and Restraints because they're fairly common. You get them pretty regularly. So with just those 2 pieces, you've got a huge chunk of the set going here. T13's Chain is a mighty belt for Barbarians. You will roll belts after you get bracers or shoulders, whichever one you would like to go for first. Fury of the Ancients here is standard for all the Hoda builds, and it gives the Ancients gain the effect of the Ancients Fury rune, allowing you to then take together as one. So with that being said, you're pretty much all covered here. Now I do use a Hellfire Amulet right now in this demo because I have one, but Hellfire Amulets are a pain to get too. So you can take Eye of Vetlich, you can take any well-rolled amulet here. So something that's crit strength or crit fire damage, pop it on and it's going to give you enough damage to get through T13. So, and then eventually you can replace this and put on a Hellfire and get an extra passive. Now let's go into the skills quickly. Furious Charge, Merciless Assault. This allows you to get through the Grift quickly. Now this is not, as you've seen, there is no Ingeom in this build, right? So you're not elite hunting, you're just destroying the rift, right? And you're getting a lot of elites along the way with the Nemesis bracers and other things like that. Eventually you can modify this build to use Ingeom as you get more and more gear, and I'll put a secondary guide up for like optimal perfect speed farming for the Barbarian, but this is like a starter season run. Like, get me into T13 as fast as possible. So I think this variation is the best for early on season. So Merciless Assault allows you to continue moving through the mobs because your recharge time is reduced by 2 seconds for every enemy hit with Furious Charge, so you can refresh it pretty quickly. Hammer of the Ancient Smash, your primary damage output here, calls forth a massive hammer, 640% weapon damage as fire. Warcry Impunity gives you some extra toughness, and combined with the Chilatnik's Chain gives you movement speed throughout the rift. Sprint Marathon, another movement speed buff. This is all around movement speed and damage. This setup is all around movement speed and damage. You want to be able to keep up with the other players in your party, or if you're playing solo, you want to move through the rift as fast as possible. Wrath of Berserker Insanity for the mega damage increase, attack speed, movement speed, dodge chance, all the good stuff. And then Call the Ancients together as one. Now with the passives here, I have Ruthless, Rampage, Berserker Rage, and Pound of Flesh. Now, Pound of Flesh, when you are healed by a health globe, you gain 2% life regen per second and 4% increased attack speed for 15 seconds. Early in the season, I won't take this. I'll sacrifice a little bit of movement speed for Nerves of Steel. That gives me that bonus life for extra life so that I don't die, because I just get frustrated when I die. But I do, if you are playing softcore, you will die a little bit on this build, depending on if you maintain your Furious Charge, Band of Might damage reduction or not. But if you want to avoid that completely, put on Nerves of Steel. It's going to be plenty to keep you alive and move through a rift very quickly and, you know, crush enemies. Now, I want to show you this real quickly. I'm going to jump into a rift here. I know that I have a lot of Paragons, but I'm going to show you. My damage is 850. My toughness is 12 million with 800,000. I have all of my Paragons removed, right? All I've put in is movement speed. There's no strength, no bite, nothing. There is no Paragons whatsoever on my character, right? Now, I do have decent IK gear, and it's not ideally going to be this high, but as you're going through in any season, right, you're going to be getting upgrades and turning up your tier. So we're in T13 right now with pretty decent gear, and the demonstration here is that if you've got some decent gear, your Paragons are not going to matter, right? You're going to be able to kill things without any trouble. So you can just come in once you've got your bonus from Focus and Restraint, which is the extra 100%, and what procs that is Furious Charge and then the hammer, right? So you're just continually moving through the rift and smashing things to bits and grabbing your Death Breath and continuing forward. You want to make sure and remember that your hammer is not going to swing super fast. In a normal Hoda build, you're going to have 2 one-handers with tons of attack speed. So you want to be able to maintain permanent Wrath of the Berserker. So make sure that you're throwing hammers out. And remember that with this variation, you're not elite hunting, so you're not skipping a lot of stuff and moving into areas where you haven't been using your hammer, right? You come into some density, just slide in and smash stuff. And we'll go over the gems as well. I have the legendary gems that I'm using are for movement speed as well. So right now I can speak about it. I'm using Boon of the Hoarder, which you only need to get to 25. Ideally it's 50. And then when you pick up gold, you get a burst of speed. I have Wreath of Lightning on, and then I have a Bane of the Trapped. Now, I was running this earlier with Bane of the Powerful just to, you know, show that there's no... It's not required to have a high-level Bane of the Trapped or anything like that to do T13, but when you're ideally setting this up for optimal, you're going to want to have Bane of the Trapped, as it's just one of the best damage outputs in the game when it comes to legendary gems. So as you're cruising through, as you can see, like, look, I'm hitting yellows. This is T13, and they're just deleting, right? It's one or 2 hammers max. Normally, the 2 hammers is a Juggernaut because they're immune to Bane of the Trapped and other things like that. But you're not going to have any trouble whatsoever unless your Wrath of the Berserker goes down, and then you throw a couple of hammers out and throw your Wrath back up. That's how these IK builds work, right? You spend resources and reduces the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients, and you just keep it up, and you just cruise through the rift, smashing things to bits. Now, obviously, this is not, you know, the fastest T13 build out there, but for Barbarians, I think it's really, really efficient early season. I think what we'll end up doing for one of our next videos is something for Whirlwind or Furious Charge that can really cook, that you'll be hunting for after you've done your seasonal journey. But the idea with seasons is to utilize what you can when you can, right? So in the very beginning of the season, you're gonna get IK for free. So this build here will enable you to get into T12, T13 with your party and cruise around and actually do something, rather than, oh well, I'm on a build that's not really damaged and I'm just leeching. No, you can fly through this rift with pretty good movement speed and dominate packs, right? And we'll get the Rift Guardian out quickly. I know this has been about 2 minutes or so, but to be fair, 2 minutes in a, you know, in a rift by yourself is not too bad. It's really not too bad for early season. And the Rift Guardian we should be able to destroy really quickly. And that's that, right? You get your stones and you get out of there. So I want to get your feedback on this type of build, right? I wanted to go for something that is more realistic, right? And typically what we see from Diablo 3 guides is like, hey, this is the best build out there for speeds. And I want to start doing more things on the YouTube channel that give a realistic perspective of the beginning of the season for players that are planning on playing Barbarian or other classes, right? This is going to be my fastest route to doing a higher tier, and then we'll also do guides that are, you know, this is the, you know, the best and fastest way to do T13 if I want to continue with IK. I've done some variations where I'm equipping, you know, Pig Sticker and Ingeom for the double with bonus attack speed, removing the Chelantnic's Chain, switching Warcry to Battle Cry with the movement speed. There's multiple variations, and I'm still working out the best that I would say for Hoda when you have, you know, all of the gear and you're a couple of days into the season. But I think for this specifically, this will be the fastest way to get into a T13 Rift. And please, in the comments section, let me know, do you want things like this? These early season, like day one, I should be able to farm the gear for this day one and be doing T13 day one. And then I'll work towards another build. So this is kind of a trial run for me. I do want to do a big shout out to all the new subscribers to the channel and all of my followers on Twitch. The Twitch channel has been growing like crazy. The YouTube channel is doing very well as well. Thank you guys so much. If you like the video and the content, please hit the thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button. It really does help. I do stream Monday through Saturday on Twitch starting at noon, you know, for going circumstances or whatever. Sometimes you miss days, but I'm pretty much there 6 days a week. Monday through Saturday starting at noon at twitch.tv/Dropaduski, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and good luck in the grifts, and super hyped for season 12, guys. Peace.